What is going on, guys and girls? It is GhostRobo, and I am here to tell you all about the PlayStation meeting, the 2013 amazing event that Sony has been touting for nearly a month now, where they revealed the PlayStation 4, kind of. I think everyone was expecting a price announcement, a date announcement, and a console reveal, along with some games spread in there, and instead we got a controller reveal, a vision reveal, and some game reveals. Now, overall, all in all, I'm pretty excited about the PlayStation 4. I always have been very, very excited for both new systems that are releasing this year. And I'm as many people seem to think I'm somehow some Xbox fanboy, I'm not. I really genuinely love many of the Sony franchises. I was slightly disappointed by how this conference slash meeting slash reveal went. I thought that they spent quite a ridiculous amount of time focusing on little details and fine words that didn't really matter or impact anything to do with what this thing is and how much it costs and if you're going to buy it or not. They really started off the conference by touting that they're making this for the gamer, for the gamer, for the gamer. No more living room stuff. You know, kind of took a quick shot at Microsoft there and for the gamer, for the gamer. And then I felt like they spent the next hour basically disregarding the gamer and talking all tech and, ideology. They really have this big thing about sharing. You know, they want to have a community organization where you can, interact with your friends even while you're playing games. And they've got Gaikai on board for streaming and for watching your friends play games and giving them tips on screen. And they have a share button so you can upload screenshots or videos right from your system. And while that's all fine and dandy, I don't think that should be the focus when you're revealing a brand new system. So they brought out the controller, which is basically the evolution of the DualShock 3. It kind of looks like a wider DualShock. I don't know if it technically is wider or if the touchpad on the front just makes it look like that. But it does have a touchpad on the front. No real mention of how that was going to be implemented in games, if it's going to be in all games, sort of how they try to, with Knack support, or, they'll let you, fine-tune your sniper rifle fire, or if it's going to be something more for interface, or if it's going to be only used in certain games, I don't know, but it's on the controller, so it probably will be used across the board, you can guarantee that, and it reminds me a lot of the initial technology, the 6-axis technology with the DualShock 3, I guess it was called the 6-axis back then, and how that sort of quickly died out very, very abruptly. I have similar fears with this touchpad. And overall, the controller looks very similar. Supposedly, they've improved the sticks. They've improved the shoulder buttons. But for the most part, except for that share button, except for that touchpad, it looks very similar. Now, I had hoped that they would transition towards more of an Xbox-esque controller. So many people prefer that controller. So many people buy attachments for their PS3 controller to make it feel more like an Xbox controller. And not to say that Microsoft, should dominate that space, but just going with what will be more successful. I was a little bit disappointed with how the controller turned out. And what you're seeing on screen right now is just some different footage from the conference that's covering some of the games that were shown, as well as some of the demos and tech demos and things that they were kind of highlighting as possibilities for what this system could bring. They then went into this very extensive talk all about the specs and what is inside the system, and that's not really my focus or my area of expertise, so I'm not going to talk about it so much. It basically boils down to the fact that this thing has very powerful technology inside. It has hard drive, it has lots of RAM, it has great chipset, blah, 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 and they said all this to let you know that it's instantaneous, that everything's going to be in an instant. So their next main point was that, you'll be able to stream games as you're downloading them. You will be able to instantly jump right into the system, resume games immediately, no boot ups, no loads, no blah, blah, blah. And all I could think about was the fact that when I go to stream a movie on my PS3, and I have really fast internet. I have Fios, fiber optics, which I don't think that's even offered in a large portion of the country, and it's pretty darn fast, and yet I get buffering issues with my PS3 watching movies. So that's frustrating in one sense. But imagine if you have a controller in your hand, and you're going to play a game and it's buffering. Like, that sounds like the absolute worst thing ever. And again, all of this instantaneousness is only instantaneous so long as, disclaimer, you have a high-speed, fast as heck internet connection, which they can't guarantee. So I thought that focus was a little bit strange. I think the sharing focus, while kind of cool, I think it's a novelty. It doesn't make so much sense to me of why that would be the focus of your system. This is my personal opinion, of course. I think that it's cool that you can upload footage and stuff, but I don't think that really sells me on this system. I want to buy this because I want to play the games, or I want to play a different way to experience the games. And they tried to incorporate a little bit of that by showing that now there is a sensor bar for the PlayStation controller, which kind of was the biggest moment for me of the entire conference. I had fears that they would bring back the Move, which they did bring up, and you'll see that in one of the clips here during this video. But why they now have a sensor bar basically for advanced 6-axis advanced Wiimote tech. I don't understand. I mean, so we have analog sticks, we have D-pad, we have buttons, we have 6-axis type motion, we have touchpad, we have move. I mean, that's 6 forms of interaction that I don't know why we need that many. I don't understand that at all. I think the Wii U has sort of proven itself that multiple methods of input kind of can be confusing, and developers don't really know how to integrate it all perfectly. Kinect's proven that, Move's proven that. Even the original Wii with Motion Plus and all that, it never really panned out to what it could have been. And from there, Sony spent more time talking and brought more people on stage. I thought this was a very convoluted and weird presentation style, how they kept having different people telling us different things. I would have liked a more focus. I like the way Sony runs their E3 conferences, where Jack Tretton gets up there and just gives you the goods. But then they started to talk about games, and my prediction for this show was that they would stick very true to past IPs and their core franchises, and probably not show that much gameplay. And I think that held true for the most part. You know, the first game they showed was a strange title, just a very weird title. I didn't really understand why this was the first thing shown. You know, if you're gonna, imagine yourselves, you're sitting there in the boardroom at Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, you're gonna reveal your brand new system, and you think like, what can we show to just wow these people to death? And instead of bringing out some crazy new IP, or even, leading with Killzone 4, or going for the glory of God of War, massive multiplayer, they show Knack, which is a game that looks like a C-tier DreamWorks movie to me. I do not see the appeal. They then began to show how PS4 games will all work on PlayStation Vita, which, again, I'm kind of confused by that, because already the graphical discrepancy between PS3 and Vita causes some issues that I was hoping would not be there. I was hoping they would be level playing field with graphics, and so cross-platform play and things of that nature would be identical. And that's not the case even with 3, and now with 4, it's going to be even more of a gap, and I don't know how that works out. But they showed this game called Knack, where you're a family of inventors. It reminded me a lot of Skylanders. I don't know. There definitely was not the Skylanders part that makes it cool with the little toys. It was just more of these weird rock monsters that kind of form themselves and go around town. They're giant. I don't know. I thought that was a very strange lead-in title, and something that probably most people tuning in the conference were not interested in at all. Then they finally brought out Killzone Shadowfall, and an interesting trend is that it seems like they're getting rid of a lot of numbered sequels and just going to go with subtitles. And I think that's a smart idea, because you're starting a new generation. You don't want to have a 4 be the first thing on the generation. Why not have it be a non-numbered, and then you can make a sequel to that and a trilogy out of that and blah, blah, blah. But Killzone Shadowfall, and again, my mind is instantly worrying with thoughts of the Killzone 2 trailer, and don't believe anything you see, don't believe anything you see, don't believe anything you see, because that ended up being such an abomination of just complete trickery. But they showed gameplay, and there was a guy playing, and it looked so freaking good. Oh my god, I mean, just everything from the rope that he was holding on to the city, it looked absolutely epic and absolutely impressive. There was some almost Assassin's Creed melee maneuvers and throwing knife type things. It looked great. It wasn't anything that deviated from the typical formula or what you might expect, but it looked really, really great. So that was Killzone Shadowfall, and I'm assuming that's going to be a launch title. I think that will probably be their lead, big push will be Killzone Shadowfall, will be my guess as sort of their, big exclusive AAA game. The next thing was Driveclub, which I did not get. This is a racing game that allows you to be part of a drive team. I'm not the biggest racing game fan. I do enjoy the Need for Speeds and the Burnouts and, the occasional hardcore racer. But it seemed like they were trying to really pimp out these features that aren't so grand, friends. And I did not get why this whole focus on friends. They showed, like I said, you can leave tips on the screen for your friends. And I don't understand, but for me, interruptions while I'm playing a game is not a good thing. So, having friends be able to give me tips or give me items or, I guess that's cool to some people if you're playing, Call of Duty. Not even that. Why? When are you going to use this? Do you really want to be playing a game and have it stop and have a tip pop up? I hate playing games and getting constant notifications. That ruins the experience for me to see those, whether it's the PlayStation or the Xbox button pop up. This person's invited you to join your party, or this person's online. I don't like that. I turn those off. So why do I want these tips on screen? I don't know. But anyways, Driveclub, it's a first-person camera. The cars look more. It's everything they ever say about racing games. It did look really good. The hands looked phenomenal. The guy holding the steering wheel. If you want to do a people simulator, but I don't know. I wasn't the most impressed with that. Next, they moved themselves on to Infamous Second Son. this was their best moment, I thought, of the entire presentation. They really had a good speaker who kind of sold it well, and it was this very epic, police are evil, everybody's against you, and now there's these sort of like people that are anomalies and go against the grain and make things crazy. And I was kind of hoping for a multiplayer Infamous. That seemed what it might have been directing towards, and I guess we don't know. There was no gameplay shown, which was pretty darn disappointing. But it ended up being a Infamous game that seemed like another Infamous game, basically Infamous 3, but with a new character this time around. It reminded me a lot of the Prototype guy. I don't know. Those games sort of drifted closer and closer together, with Infamous being my personal preference. But this guy reminded me a lot of Prototype. I was hoping we'd see gameplay, but I think that was sort of the best moment up to that point of the conference. They then brought out a handful of different developers for sort of short, brief things. They brought out Jonathan Blow, the creator of Braid, to show off The Witness, which is going to be a timed exclusive to the PS3 or PS4. So that was a great grab. I think that's a great precedent set for indie/smaller/awesome experiences, saying, hey, we're committed to this. And they did a phenomenal job with that on PlayStation Network. That was sort of one of their bread and butter advantages over Microsoft this generation. And I think that it could be a big gain for them next generation, depending on how much emphasis and focus they place. But they brought Jonathan Blow out. They showed the trailer. The Witness looks great. It's a puzzle game, an open world, yet small open world on this island, so you can do whatever, but it's very grounded and contained, so you know what's going on, and the puzzles looked crazy, and the graphics looked crazy. It just looked really awesome. And then kind of continuing with that, they brought out Media Molecule to do this very awkward PlayStation Move demonstration of a old man dancing with a girl. It was very strange. Like, what if you could sculpt your dreams with PlayStation 4? I think it was more of a conceptual, hey, the graphics are really cool. There's all these different facets that we can involve to make a new kind of game. They really were trying to focus that, like, PlayStation 4 is the evolution of gaming. And I didn't really see much of that in the games that I saw today. But I know that is their hopes. They ran through developers saying nice things, but every conference always has developers saying nice things. What are they gonna do? Yes, this system is kind of underwhelming. We don't know. They're gonna show people that say things that are great about it. And they brought out their billboard of all the companies that are gonna make games for PlayStation 4. And I don't know. That's sort of just fluff to me, because of course Activision, of course Ubisoft, of course all these companies, 2K, blah blah. They're all gonna make games. Capcom. Capcom had one of the more interesting little brief segments. A game called Deep Down. I have no idea why it's called Deep Down. Their new engine called Phanta Ray. It sounds like Manta Ray down under the sea. I don't know what kind of drugs they're smoking or what's going on with those connections. But Deep Down looked like almost like a Dark Souls-esque game. And I thought this was the most bullish slash fake slash sleazy of the demos, because granted it was a tech demo, but they tried to imply gameplay, and I don't really think there was any there. I think that was all pre-rendered nonsense. It looked fantastic. It kind of reminded me like, oh my god, it looks a lot like Dark Souls. So I'm excited to see where that project goes. But I think that you have to temper your expectations the most with that video. If you're going to see any of these games, Deep Down is the one that I'd be like, I'm a little concerned. I personally, we weren't shown what these were running on. We weren't guaranteed what they were, supposedly on PS4s, but we don't know what kind of things they're doing to make these demos work at this time. So I would not take those graphics as, set in stone. I think they're going to be very close, which has me super excited, but I wouldn't take them as set in stone. They brought up Square Enix to say that, Final Fantasy is going to be on PlayStation 4, but they didn't show anything. They brought out Bungie to say Destiny will be on PlayStation 4, but we knew that from last week, and they didn't really show any new stuff. Maybe a couple new assets here and there, but not really. No significant gameplay, no significant description of what's going on. I kind of secretly hope that game ends up being like a Skyrim Fallout crossbreed FPS. I doubt it will be, but that's my secret dream. But then they had more people talk and blah, 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 blabble. A lot of blabbery. And I thought, sadly, the crowning game of this show was Watch Dogs. They brought that out from Ubisoft, and it looks just spectacular. Of any of the games, that's the one I want the most. It's the kind of game I would make, and so that's why it really has me gushing. It reminds me of a great crossbreed, a mix of Assassin's Creed, LA Noire, a little bit of GTA, and just something entirely new. They showed a brand new demo where you're activating all the electronics around the city to stop people, chase this criminal, and it looks freaking fantastic. The interface is great. He hacks an ATM, he gets some money, he goes and spies on this man, his wife or girlfriend, and they get in a fight, and then you chase the dude, and you activate these pillars to stop an oncoming police car and reverse this train. It just looks so freaking good. And sadly, we've already seen that game before. We knew it was coming, but it looks absolutely awesome. I think the conference kind of sorely lacked a wow moment that is exclusive to PlayStation. Killzone Shadowfall looked good. The Infamous game has a lot of promise. If you're a racing fan, sure, you like Driveclub, but they really, I thought, dropped the ball by not showing the system. They didn't show the system at all, And I think that was just a huge mistake entirely. The goal of this conference, if I'm Sony, would be, hey, let's get out ahead of Microsoft. Let's sort of set the ball rolling early. And all they gave us was the controller and some games. And you could say, well, they showed their big games. And if those are the games that come out at launch, I would be perfectly happy. I think Killzone, I don't know if Infamous is going to be a launch game, but I think Killzone will be, and I think Watch Dogs will be. But I couldn't believe that they didn't show the system, because I think that you have to give someone an image to remember. And, there is no image of, like, this brand new spectacular game. There is no image of, like, a Mario. Mario somehow has this effect that, like, if people see a new Mario, they just grab onto that thing so tight. And I don't think any other franchise has that power right now. Maybe Halo, but not Killzone and not Infamous. So there's no defining image of this conference. I guess the controller, which I thought was kind of underwhelming. I did not like the controller. I was hoping for something more different and less gimmicky, and now we have all these gimmicks: a sensor bar, a touchpad, and potentially Move integration. But no box, no system. It says coming holiday 2013, no prices. They obviously need to save some stuff for E3, but there's no reason you could not have just brought that box out. I hope Microsoft has one of these events, and I hope they don't bring anyone on stage. I hope they just rise the system from the floor and be like, bam, Xbox 720 or next Xbox or whatever it's called. I think you have to give people a very central image to remember and focus on. And maybe this was targeted specifically at journalists, and they didn't think many fans would be watching, and probably for the most part, most weren't. But I think the buzz generated out of this conference is going to be a lot less than Sony wanted. I think overall that no one it walks away blown out of the water. I think the graphics were pretty amazing. But again, we saw, that same Square Enix tech demo. We saw Watch Dogs again. So we'd had a glimpse at these graphics. I don't think they were so spectacular that people are going to be like bleeding out their eyes, but they did look really good. And that has me excited. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very excited for the PS4. Very excited for every system that's releasing. No matter what it is. I've purchased every console since the N64, and so I really don't feel like I have any bias against a specific, fanboys want to say, oh, I hate Sony, or I hate Nintendo, or I don't know. I think people generally get pegged as Xbox people because that's what most of us commentators play our games on YouTube. But I don't think that can equate. I think the fact that we record on Xbox because most of the multi-platform games work better on Xbox, and it's typically easier to record footage on Xbox, and the controller is typically more suited to the hardcore gamer. I don't think that makes me or any of these commentators necessarily an Xbox fanboy. But that's neither here nor there. I will have much more coverage of this conference. I want to go into more detail in probably a longer form video this weekend, as well as some individual videos on the games and things shown, which you'll find links, annotations on the video somewhere. If you want to know about any specific part of the system or want me to speak on anything, let me know. I would love to know in the comments below what you guys thought of the PS4, what you guys thought of the conference. I know we don't know a whole ton, but they basically laid out the specs. They laid out some of the initial games. They laid out the controller, and they laid out their focus, which seems to be very heavily on sharing and friend interaction. They showed a glimpse of the interface, which I thought looked crappy, sort of like a older version of the PS3 interface. I don't know what they were going for there. But I don't know. I mean, if I had to grade this conference, I'd give it a C. I don't think that they really did anything horrible. I don't think they did really anything great. They announced Diablo 3 for PS4 and PS3, and I thought that was a huge miss. They bring Blizzard out. They're like, Blizzard on console. It's going to be great. You're thinking, oh, God, Titan, the new MMO, or oh, God, maybe it's a new IP, console-centric. Instead, it's Diablo 3, this game that when it comes out will probably be 2 years old. I didn't understand that at all. I didn't understand a lot of things about this conference. I thought they made some strange decisions, but that's kind of par for the course for Sony and Nintendo, it seems like, the past couple of years. Strange decisions that don't really equate out to what they're going for. So I don't know that they really delivered on what they wanted to. I think they got people thinking, but again, we have no central image. What are we supposed to remember from this? I don't even know. I don't know. My image that I will remember probably is either The Witness or Watch Dogs. It'll be Watch Dogs. If I think of that conference, Watch Dogs is what I'll remember. I think The Witness looks really cool. I think Killzone will be fun. I love Killzone, actually. So I'm very excited for that one. It's a must-buy for me. I like Infamous, so I think all those games will be cool. But without a system picture, without a here it is, I mean, the logo is basically identical to PS3. It's just swap out the 3 or the 4. No new font, no new nothing. So the image that you take away from this is what? That controller? Watch Dogs? I don't know. I think they missed the chance to really set in stone that the PlayStation 4 is the system to get, and here it is. Maybe they tried to make a case for why you'd want the PlayStation 4, and they showed off a couple cool games, but I think it was very status quo and a very convoluted presentation that didn't really get the points across quickly and efficiently. If you're going to go out there and try to wow people that you need to switch over to Sony, I don't think they did their job. Who knows? Maybe Microsoft will come out and make an even worse mess, but I have to imagine that they will be a more focused and more direct presentation. That kind of is typically how it goes. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, hit that like button, add your favorites if you want to hear more coverage. I know this is a long-form video, but I really wanted to make sure I touched on all the points of the conference for you guys. Till next time, though, have a fantastic day. I'll be covering all the stuff leading up to the consoles, as well as getting both new consoles this year and covering the games for you guys. So, hope you are as excited as I am. E3 is going to be bananas this year. Cannot wait. Until that time, though, guys and girls, thank you so much for watching. Fantastic day, and we will see you all later.